Hello, welcome to Davis on Davis. This is a little mini episode we're making because the upcoming episode is quite long, but also we had quite a long discussion at the start about a bunch of media we've been watching. So we thought let's make it into its own mini podcast, and also that way it's easier to find because we can put all the stuff we're talking about in the title. And so before the new episode coming out this weekend, enjoy this bonus bit of Davis on Davis. So, shitty tinkering aside, because that's what I've been doing this whole time, have you done anything, Zach, since we last met?
I really don't like the narrative that this podcast creates that I don't do anything with my life, because it sort of sounds like I don't. I have done things. I have done many things. I've been reading, I've been writing, I've been working, but rather than tell you what I've done, I'm going to recommend a piece of media, because we used to do that. We used to talk about films and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I was actually going to do that today.
So I've got a piece of media. Wouldn't it be funny if we recommend the same piece of media? But some people will know that the sequel to Joker comes out. I think it's either just come out or it comes out this week.
Yeah,
as we record. And in preparation for that, Lady Gaga released. It's kind of an album, but she sort of called it. It's like her 6.5 album, so it's like a long EP. Not that I exactly know the difference between EP and album. I just think EPs are very, very short, probably have like 3 singles on them.
Well, no, but it's weird because like there's this EP from Aphex Twin called Come to Daddy, but like if you get the version with some bonus tracks, it is like 40 minutes. And like, I'm sorry, that is just an LP. Like you have just made an LP.
Yeah.
Generally, Aphex Twin LPs are quite long, so it's quite a short LP by his standards, but it's still an LP.
So Lady Gaga released this album called Harlequin, which is just jazz covers that I presume most of them, if not all of them, are featured in the film Joker. I think actually not all of them, but there's some real... I'm a big jazz fan. I mean, I have a very eclectic taste in music. I don't dive deep into one particular genre. I just sort of jump around. But I really, really like when Lady Gaga does jazz. I think she's got a great voice for jazz. The production on it is really exciting. So I've just really been enjoying banging my head to Lady Gaga singing "If They Could See Me Now," which I think must have been so cathartic for her to sing, because of course when she was when she was at school as a teenager, there was a Facebook group basically saying that she wouldn't, called like Stefani Giamatti will never be famous, and I just think she's just ironically talking about those not friends she had.
I've heard that that's not actually true, or that she made the page or something. I don't know.
See, I believe everything I read on the internet.
I just think she's very good at what she does. I just think she's a very good singer. So.
Exactly. I've really been enjoying listening to that, and I can't wait. I'm going to go see Folie à Deux probably later this week. That reminds me, because I'm always, ever since this one moment you told me off, Louis, for letting the audience peeking behind the curtain.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with exposing the day that we record these podcasts on. I think not an episode goes by where I don't make mention to what day of the week or what the date is.
I mean, I actually was going to mention that it's the start of Spooktober, so...
It's the start of Spooktober, but do you know what we missed? Do you know what the significance of the 30th of September is? Apart from being the last day before spooky season.
Is it?
I'm sure it has lots of significance.
I don't know.
Well, Windows, my best mate, because I'm addicted to technology, informed me from my start menu on my laptop the 30th of September is in fact National Podcast Day.
Wow.
So we missed it. Sorry.
Okay, that's interesting.
Part of me thought, should we just lie and say we are recording this on National Podcast Day? Well, I just, what's the absolute point of that? That would be pointless.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah. So it's the day after National Podcast Day, and we've not done anything to celebrate it. RIP.
Yes, but it is the start of Spooktober.
And so this is where, Louis, it's your chance to it's your platform now to talk about anything you've done or anything you're particularly thinking about at the moment.
Okay, so it is quite interesting because, I have done stuff, but it's not stuff I would talk about on the podcast. However, I have definitely seen some stuff which I do want to mention. I watched the new series Kaos on Netflix. It stars Jeff Goldblum, and it's the most T-boy swag I've ever seen in a TV show. Generally some really great transmasc representation in there. It's a modern reimagining of Greek mythology, but a lot of them have been changed in some very interesting ways, actually. If you think you know what's coming up, you don't when you watch it. I just have to say that much. Like, you just have to watch the show to know how the stories are going to play out, even if you know what myths they're based upon. All the changes, all those choices feel very deliberate and well thought out, I would say.
See, that's really interesting, because even though I've just seen the show inundated with such fantastic reviews, I've steered clear of it only because, and I'm sure the viewer may, I don't know if the listener has picked up to this, but I do have a classics degree, so I do have essentially a degree in Greek mythology. It's a bit more nuanced than that, the things you study, but it means that my life has been so oversaturated with Greek mythology. I see another adaptation, I'm just going, no, just give me something else. But I'm hearing so much good stuff that I feel, oh my god, I'm actually going to have to watch it, because I might be blown away.
I think that's something else, because
good.
So one of the stories is Orpheus and Eurydice, and there's this thing where basically the myth on its own is one of my least favourite Greek myths, just because I find it very unsatisfying. But whenever I see it sort of interpreted in media, so for example, do you know the movie Portrait of a Lady on Fire?
Yes.
They discuss that myth, ideas from that myth play into the actual plot of the movie, and the way they discuss it is basically, instead of like, oh, you know, like he lost her on a technicality because he had left the tunnel but she hadn't when he looked back, and that's the bureaucratic red tape reason that he lost her. Instead, it's like, what if he looks at her to keep the memory of her? But of course, in the myth itself, it's like, why would that be the case if he could just wait 2 seconds and she would also be out of the tunnel? But in this show, they do something different even to that idea of it. And I just thought it was very good. And also, it's got a lot of good faces. Susie Izzard, isn't it? And just generally, there's so much queerness, and it's great.
Yes, I saw a clip of Billie Piper in a supermarket as Cassandra.
Yes, she's so good in that. Yeah. It's got a good Doctor Who crossover as well, because Carla from Doctor Who, Ruby's mum,
very nice,
plays a character in this.
Yeah. No, I didn't want to mention the fact that I'd seen Doctor Who people in it, but I was going to go from the classic side of things. But no, I almost am ashamed that I haven't gone down it. But I watched the trailer, and I just, you know, when you see trailers and they just don't appeal to you.
Yeah, no, I get it. And the thing is, like, after episode 1, I was kind of on the fence, because, like, when they introduce Zeus and Hera, they do, like, Hera, his wife, and sister. And it's like, oh, okay, we're lampshading that, aren't we? And that felt a bit cheap. But then, like, by the end of episode 2, I was like, I am incredibly invested in all these characters. I need to see what happens. I really hope he gets renewed for a second season, even though that doesn't look super likely, but I really think it should be, because I need more of this, because it's such a fresh sort of take on everything, and it's not just, what if these things happen in the modern day? It's like, what if the modern day happened to these myths, I would say. So,
okay, that's interesting.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, it's funny that you say it's unlikely to come for a second season. That sounds like I'm interviewing you now. Do you say that from the perspective of, you know, Netflix is a bit of a shithole at the moment?
Yeah.
And I think just the recent news about the Baby Reindeer lawsuit means that I think Netflix are going to lose some money pretty soon.
I don't know about that, but it's just what I've read, you know.
Yeah.
I'm really not an expert. I'm just going off of what I read, but I just hope that they do a second season anyway. Also because, like, things are allowed to be more popular when the second season drops than they were when that's generally how it's been with TV. There'll be this sort of curve where it sort of ramps up and then ramps down as it goes on too many seasons. And like a TV show like Dark from a few years ago,
which you've mentioned on the podcast before.
Have I? Oh, okay.
Favorite of the podcast.
That's good. I don't know what the ratings were for each season, but I'm glad that, like, it got to have the 3 seasons that meant the world could be expanded and explored enough, and then the story could have a very satisfying ending. For a show about time travel, getting a satisfying ending can be, like, really, really difficult, and they pulled it off. So I'll always be very impressed by that.
Which reminds me, we're really talking about this stuff now. Feel free to cut it out in the edit, Lou. I don't know if did you watch the final season of The Umbrella Academy? Or had you ever watched The Umbrella Academy?
I've not seen that show, no.
Yeah, it came out a couple of months ago, but I ended up, I didn't have Netflix over somehow, but I got Netflix again now for sort of September onwards. And so I finally caught up with the final season of The Umbrella Academy. I saw online that it garnered a lot of hate, a lot of dissatisfaction. And I was like, I started watching it, and I watched it all in one day because I was unemployed at the time. And I was going, okay, this isn't as bad. And then it sort of ended. I don't know if am I allowed to spoil the ending if I say spoiler warning for the next 10 seconds.
Yeah.
They all die. All the main cast basically learn that they're not... Or the 6 main characters learn that they're not supposed to exist, and the only way to save the universe is to cease existing. So they just cease to exist, and therefore nothing that happened in the last 4 seasons you watch actually happened, because none of the main characters existed.
Okay. see, Dark does a similar... takes that concept, but does it in a more interesting way,
right?
Where it's not like every single thing gets erased. And in fact, I was sort of working on like a blog post a little while ago, but I might finish at some point, comparing the TV show Dark to the show Bodies,
right?
Which has an incredible number of parallels. And I was like, what's going on here? Especially since Bodies is based on a comic book that came out slightly before Dark, so I was a little interested by that. But basically, Bodies sort of ends that same way, and it's like, oh, okay, just whatever.
Wow, we really deep dived into, and here was me thinking I was gonna have to do audio description of your face for them. We're really done a deep dive into some Netflix stuff there.
Well, all I'll say is I also watched the TV show Ludwig.
Oh, nice.
Ludwig, I should say. Ludwig is the Twitch streamer. Ludwig is the composer, which the show is named after.
Yeah.
Police procedural, but with David Mitchell impersonating his twin brother, and it's absolutely like what if Mark Corrigan was in a police procedural, and I can assure you there's no time travel in that.
There was a Guardian review that was titled literally exactly that. What if Mark Corrigan, what if Peep Show was a detective drama?
Yeah.
And my one thing, again, so number one, I'm wary of... There are so many thrillers and police procedurals on television right now, and I know there are so many more in commissioning. And I for me, it's just not to my appetite, although I get the impression that Ludwig might be slightly more on the comic side.
Yeah, same. I don't really watch them either. The only ones I've seen are Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes. I think like if you see those, then you're good. You don't need to watch anything else.
And I think they do something different as well, don't they?
Yeah.
But I was going to say about Ludwig, the thing that made me put my head in my hands was about a year or two ago, I started watching Professor T, and it was a British remake of, I think, is it a French or a Swiss?
It was Belgian.
Belgian, there we go. And I'm just like, okay, how many crime shows are we going to put in the city of Cambridge? I maybe...
Evidently two.
Well, then you've also got Grantchester as well, which technically takes place in Grantchester, not Cambridge, but one and the same, maybe.
Yes, they are. I'm sorry, but if you can walk to Grantchester from Cambridge, then it's Cambridge.
Exactly.
Because historically, the way towns were set up is where's the market that you can walk to in a day and walk back from in the same day?
Exactly.
That's how it always was.
So that sort of, again, I keep coming up with stupid reasons not to watch things. But that's so far my stupid reason not to watch Ludwig, just because, and even though everything is set in London or Manchester, the other city in the UK that I've lived in, I'm like, there's too much stuff happening there.
Yeah. What year is Grantchester set? Do you know?
I don't know.
Is it modern day or is it not?
That's a good question. I think it's...
Isn't that... I saw that was about a priest. I didn't realise it was a detective show.
Yeah, it's done 9 seasons.
It's a priest doing detective stuff.
And it's set in the 1950s, apparently. Because I remember when I was a student, there was a call for extras. But naturally, being a Cambridge student, I was too busy to, just go and be on the set of Grantchester.
It is funny because there is a moment where in Ludwig, this is not too much of a spoiler, they're walking around St. John's College, and then they say okay, next thing we need to do is next place we need to go is King's College, and then it cuts to them still walking around John's college. It's just exactly where they were before. You don't even have to have been to that place to like recognize that that's the same place as before, because it's literally like the same bridge but a bit more zoomed out this time.
Well, that's what I found really amusing about Professor T was they went to they were like, we're going to the School of Criminology for a lecture now, and it flashed up with Jesus College, which is, it's a beautiful sort of red brick college. I don't know if people, if the listener knows how Cambridge colleges work, Google it. And they flashed up on screen with, this is the Institute of Criminology. And I was like, no, that's Jesus College. And because I know that the Institute of Criminology is like a concrete square that you probably want to cry upon seeing.
The faculties generally don't look very good. Apart from the maths one, which looks like a spaceship.
Yeah.
Because it was funded by bankers in the 90s, and they were like, we need to make it look like the millennium, which, funnily enough, is a thing we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast, the sort of the millennium way of futuristic architecture. Yeah. I'll draw a line under this by just saying that Professor T sounds like a guy that gives you hormone replacement therapy.
He does. He does, actually.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of queer slang.
It's a trans mask academic.
Yeah.
I can. Yeah, because I've heard stories of people who, rather than going through medical boards, buy hormones, quote unquote, illegally.
Yes, known as DIY HRT,
unregulated. And I can imagine Professor T being the name of a hormone drug dealer, in inverted commas, to borrow terms that probably aren't appropriate.
Yeah, I'll make sure you don't sound problematic in the edit.
Yeah, no, Professor T, what a name.
Anyway, now it's time for us to talk about Davis on Davis.
Oh my god,
not Davis.
Mine on mine.
Word connective word, same word again.
I've completely forgot that we had things to talk about. I was coming up with more media to talk about, and then I was going to start talking about the book I'm reading because part of it's set in Hebden Bridge as opposed to Manchester or London. But we are talking about Mine on Mine, which is set in Swansea.
What book is that?
Juno Dawson's Her Majesty's Royal Coven.
Nice.
But we can talk about it next episode because I'm going to go see Juno Dawson live.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah. I'm
at the Manchester Literary Festival.
I'm sure there's no particular reason why it's set in Hebden Bridge, I'm sure.
Right, we're going to Swansea because nothing's ever set in Swansea, so let's go watch a TV show set in Swansea. I can cope with that.